Victoria from Biblio Lifestyle, and you're listening to the Reader's Couch podcast, the show that will help you bridge the gap between living a full and busy life to one where you're reading, learning new things, and having fun. Today on the couch, I'm so excited to welcome author Catherine Newman to talk about her novel Sandwich. Sandwich follows Rocky during her family's annual beach vacation to Cape Cod. While there, we see her dealing with everything that comes with midlife, including menopause, aging parents, and half-grown children, all while coming to terms with her changing body and life. But we also see Rocky embrace the present moments with her family, while also reflecting on the past and mourning some of what she's lost. Now, this is a very humorous novel because it's filled with so many little mishaps, but it's also very honest and raw as it delves into themes of emotional and marital struggles, personal transformation, and confronting past and present secrets. Plus, we also see Rocky learning to let go and embrace change. So in this episode, we talk about Catherine's novel, Sandwich. We circle back to her previous novel, We All Want Impossible Things. We learn about her reading and writing life, plus lots more. But before we get into the episode, leave the podcast a 5-star rating, write me a review if you love the show, and click that subscribe button so you'll be the first to know when new episodes are available. And if you have something you'd like to share with me, I'd love to hear from you. So click the Send Me a Text link in the show's description and share your thoughts. You can let me know, did you read Sandwich? Did you love it? Did you read Catherine's previous book, We All Want Impossible Things? Do you have that annual beach vacation or just that annual holiday or little thing that you and your family do every single year? If you have some family tradition that revolves around the summertime, I'd love to hear from you. Or you could just tell me about the last book that you read and loved. I'd love to hear from you. So just click that Send Me a Text link in the show's description. Alrighty, listeners, thanks in advance. And now onto the episode with author Catherine Newman. Hi friends, welcome again to the Reader's Couch. I'm your host, Victoria Wood, and here on the couch with me to talk about her new novel, Sandwich, is author Catherine Newman. Hi Catherine, welcome to the Reader's Couch.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Yay, I'm thrilled to have you here on the show. Can't wait to talk more about Sandwich. But before we get into it, I know it's not your first rodeo, but how excited are you? How are you feeling now that Sandwich is out there and available in the world?
I am feeling pretty good. I am very excited. It's a little nerve-wracking because you hope everybody likes it, but you don't know how it's going to go. But I'm excited.
Yay, I'm thrilled to hear that. I had so much fun with this one. This novel really explored a lot of themes that were very timely, especially with me and where I'm at in my life. But before I really get into it, tell our listeners about your book, Sandwich. What's your elevator pitch? Essentially, what can readers expect when they pick up a copy?
Okay, Sandwich is narrated by a woman in her mid-50s, and the book takes place over a 1-week vacation on Cape Cod in Massachusetts. So it's a Saturday to Saturday rental. That's how all the rentals are out there. And the book goes from Saturday to Saturday. She's on vacation with her husband of many decades, with her kids who are in their 20s, and with her parents who are in their 80s. So on the one hand, it's just a vacation week in a family, lots of banter and lots of eating and going to the beach. And then there's some other stuff going on. She's menopausal. Menopause is a character in the book, basically. And she's having a lot of memories of young motherhood, for one thing, and also of some other things that have happened at this beach house in past years. Some of them are secrets that emerge.
Yes, for sure. Secrets do emerge. Now, one of the themes I think this novel does a really good job at discussing is dealing with aging parents. It's so funny because just this morning during a co-working session of mine, I was chatting with a friend about just that. aging parents. What are we going to do? What plans we have in place? Because we just got bad news about another friend's family. And I was like, yep, we're getting at that age, or parents are aging. And we've been having just discussions about essentially what our plan is. So tell me about your decision to really incorporate aging parents in the novel as well.
We have those conversations too in my friend groups. The name Sandwich, among other things, I wanted it to communicate that this is a book about being in the middle of two generations, that there's aging parents above and kids below. And I think one of the interesting things about this life moment, the one that Rocky, who's the main character, the one that she's in, is that kids in their 20s don't want to be treated like children. And also parents in their 80s don't want to be treated like children. Nobody wants to be treated like children, but nonetheless, these are relationships that are demanding a certain amount of care and caretaking. And that's partly the book's about the delicacy of that.
Yes, absolutely. I remember when I was little and I had great-grandparents, and I just always remember this saying, once a man, twice a child. It was used a lot during that time to explain to the even smaller children what was happening with the great-grandparents. It's really delicate because you're right, they're not children, but it's almost like they are children, but not really. It is a delicate line to balance. And I love that you had that dimension. You have the children in the 20s who are not really children, the aging parents in their 80s who they're not children, but they're in a different stage. I also found it interesting that another theme that really stuck out to me was as Rocky is reflecting, because like you said, Rocky's our main character. She's the person who is going through menopause, like you said, which is also a character in this book. But she's dealing with her children. She's dealing with her parents. She's also doing a lot of reflecting. And I found it interesting. She is grateful for just everything that she has going on in her life right now. At the same time, she misses what used to be and what was and what she has lost and is currently losing as time goes by. Tell me about that balance of gratitude for where we are, but also missing what was and what we're actively losing in this moment. Because I think when children are little, you're really in the throes of it. When they're older, you tend to reflect fondly on when they were little, but then you forget the hell that you were in at that time.
Yes.
They're pleasant moments. It's tough. And so, really watching Rocky reflect, grateful, but missing, grateful, but also reflecting on what she's lost and is actively losing. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I love that question. I really feel like the way you put it is exactly right, that even as she's reminiscing, she's remembering that it wasn't really just one thing. I think this is a book about how nothing's really ever just one thing, and that she's nostalgic on the one hand for the almost like simplicity of parenting little kids. It's very clear what they need. They're hungry. They need to be fed. They need to be loved and put to bed. And she's nostalgic for that. But she's also remembering how utterly drained she was at the time and how exhausted and without any room for herself she was as a young mother. So I think this is a book that I hope, this might be too ambitious, but what I wanted was for it to hold all of the things that I keep thinking about that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Not even really the content, although I love that movie, but the title of it. That is what life is. It is all of the things all of the time. It never is reducible to, oh, it was great or, oh, it was terrible. And so I think for me, like Rocky is both nostalgic and somewhat also realistic about remembering that it was really hard. And it's true that she's in this life moment of kind of preemptive grief, that she knows she'll lose her parents. They're very old. They can't live forever. But she's just totally unwilling to give anything up. And so she's at this very precarious moment of, I don't think she ever says it in the book, but I think there's a feeling in the book of a wondering of, you wonder if every summer Rocky worries that it's the last summer they'll all be together. And I just wanted to capture that feeling of the bittersweetness of kind of hitting these life moments where you know you're braced for loss and you don't really know when it's coming.
I think that's just it. It's the bittersweet moments. That's the word that has been eluding me today. But yes, and also that life is full of constant change. It's never, I love how you said it's never one thing, but life is always changing. It's always a bounty of things. I was also saying to my friend today, as we were chatting about aging parents, was that life isn't black or white. It's not one thing or another thing. It's everything. It's always and. So often when I have conversations, I'm like, no, it's not or, it's and.
Yes.
It's not one thing. And I wish we used and held space for more things in our life, because I think it might make things a bit easier and lighter and not reducing it to just singular experiences. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I totally agree. And that you don't have to pick. You don't have to connect the dots to tell a story about how everything's great, nor do you have to connect the dots to tell a story about how everything's terrible. It is all the things. It's funny, as you were saying that, I was thinking yesterday somebody interviewed me, not actually about this book, but somebody who's writing a book about menopause. And the thrust of the book is actually, it's really great to be a late middle-aged woman. You've heard it's terrible, but it's really amazing. And I really appreciate that on the one hand. And on the other hand, she kept trying to recast everything I was saying as like, this time of life is only good. And I kept having to say, you know what? It's amazing. And I actually really love being in my mid-50s, but it's also totally heartbreaking. Like I just kept feeling that reduction, the reducing of it to, oh, actually, here's the story. The story is that it's great. And I had to say, the story is that it's like everything else, a mix.
I love that. I love hearing that. And yes, I think we need to maybe push it out there in the world more. It's not one thing. So yeah, it's great. And it's also a pain, like what Rocky is doing.
Yes.
I feel like Rocky, I hope anyway, will give people permission to say, and it's, when they were little, I wish they were little again. It was great. But you know what? It was hell. I love where they are now. And I wish they would let me parent them more. They want to be individuals. So I like the word. And that's something I actually am trying to include actively more in my vocabulary. And I really got a good exercise chatting with you so far. Another question I have is about the setting. You chose to do it on an annual family beach vacation, which I liked because there is that consistency. And I know when I think about my childhood, and I know this is incredibly fortunate on my side and my family, and I feel incredibly privileged about it, is that we had so much just stability, routine. You go on holiday at this time, you get sent off to school at this time. And it just, the routines for me were like clockwork. So there are things you look forward to. The thing with that routine though is every year it changes a bit. Mm-hmm. So, and it changes as you age. So it's like, first it's just the family. And then I started having friends. I'm the eldest sibling. So I would like, oh, can I bring so? And he'd be like, yeah, okay. Then my sister, she gets to that point. She's bringing her friends, and then it evolves to partners, and then it evolves to children. But having that consistency, I will say the consistency ended when COVID happened, but just having those little things, but then it's within that consistent activity you see the change as well. So I was really curious about your decision to use an annual beach vacation, because I couldn't help but think about my own family and the changes as we grow and as people pass, how it has also just affected this one consistent activity we don't.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like what I was thinking when you were saying that is that in some ways, because the backdrop stays the same, you know, it's the same house, the same town, the same ocean, the same sky, you see the changes are brought into relief a little more, that everything else stays the same, but the people. And so I think I was wanting I almost wrote it honestly as a book that was going to be like that one day novel where it was going to be like July 11th every year for 20 years. And I ultimately didn't because I wanted it more just to be from Rocky's perspective and I wanted it to be more like layers of memories. But I do think there's something about the unchanging backdrop that worked really well for me to tell a story of people who are changing.
Yeah, your book made me think about my family and just the consistent things we do and going to the same places and doing the same things. I don't know, for some people it might be boring, but I think it's because of that. And then reading your book, it made me realize how easy it is to see the change when the setting remains the same. So I was very curious about that as well. My first novel that I read from you, We All Want Impossible Things, that also centers on a woman. We see her taking care of her best friend who is dying, but she's also trying to deal with things that are happening in her life as well. I felt this was really a book about caregiving, but it was also funny because we had moments when you're laughing, you cry laughing, like you're crying, but you're laughing in the midst of it. That's how I would describe my feelings reading We All Want Impossible Things. It's an interesting book about death and caregiving. And when I was reading that one, I was thinking about my grandparents and how we as a family, because we were all living together at that point, were caring for them as they were passing. And so I couldn't help but think about that book as I was reading Sandwich. So just in case we have some listeners who are not familiar with We All Want Impossible Things, would you mind just sharing real quick what that book is about and what they can expect if they decide to pick up that book?
Yeah, thank you. So that book, as you were saying, it's a woman whose best friend of 45 years, they're in their mid to late 40s, is dying of cancer. And she actually brings her friend up near where she lives to die in a hospice near her. And it's really a story about the narrator more than it's a story about the woman who's dying. It's a story about what it's like to be losing this kind of very fundamental relationship, the way she's already trying to come to terms with this. And part of what's happening to her is that she is just being blown apart by grief in a way that is rocking all her relationships in a pretty significant way, but also bringing her a great deal of love in her life.
Absolutely. And I truly feel this is one of those books that caregivers especially will be able to relate to heavily. Also, just people with long-standing friendships that they love. And you really do a good job, I feel, at capturing life in a way where I can't even find the words. I often say that life happens and it's just the everyday is what makes up life. It's not really those big significant moments, if that makes sense. They're great. Yeah, they're great to celebrate, the big moments, birth of a child, graduation, the first job, just all these, first home, first car, something. We do have the big moments in life, but I feel life really lies in the everyday. And I think you do that well. And I saw that in both We All Want Impossible Things and Sandwich. So I'm curious from the writer perspective, what are some of the similarities and differences you'd say between these two?
That's such a good question. The main character is very similar from one book to the other. So it's Ash and We All Want Impossible Things and Rocky and Sandwich. And they are really both versions of me. These are both stories that hew very close to real life for me. I did lose my best friend of 45 years to cancer, and I was in hospice with her as she was dying. So I feel like I really appreciate that, what you're saying about sort of life being lived in the moments, that the days are made of moments and the years are made of days and a life is made of years, that feeling that it's just this accumulation of moments. And I guess just with your thinking about the word and, that I feel like We All Want Impossible Things is simultaneously a book about the biggest existential questions, right? What death is, what it feels like, what grief, how we manage grief. And on the other hand, daily life hums along in that book because that's how life is. So you are not just constantly having an existential conversation as somebody's dying. You're actually also making and eating food and talking about really dull things or inconsequential things. So I do think in some ways, both books are that, the kind of big stuff that is also threaded through with daily life, which is how we live.
Absolutely. It is how we live. It really is the little things, the making coffee, making the bed, chatting on the phone. I think you managed to do that well. And I see that in both books. I'm curious now, and I know this is me being greedy, but are you working on any other books, any other stories about women in their 50s coming your way?
I have started another book. I always say it a little tentatively because I'm just not a person who's ever completely confident that a project will be done until it's done. I won't show it to anyone until it's done.
But you're working on something.
I am working on something, yes. I'm just a little nervous too because we're just about to head into this election cycle. And I think it's going to be a really distracting time to try to be writing a book. Maybe it will be like a salvation to me, but I'm not totally sure.
You're not sure yet. No, I completely get it. But you have something on your mind and we'll have to wait to see how it goes.
Thank you. Yes.
No problem. No problem. Okay. So I really want to get into your reading life as well, because I know we're here to chat about Sandwich and I appreciate us talking about We All Want Impossible Things too. But I want to know what you're reading. Tell me about some of your favorite books about family and friendship.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I always cite, I think my favorite novel that's the happy, sad, real life feeling novel about family is Miriam Toews' All My Puny Sorrows. And that's a book that I have read, I don't know how many times. It gives me so much solace. It's a really beautiful book about grief and it's really funny. And I just love it to pieces. I don't know if you've read that one.
No, I haven't. I'm actually looking it up.
It's so good. So it's called All My Puny Sorrows. And she's just a total wonder. Miriam Toews, she's Canadian. So I always recommend that book. And then so that's a book first read many years ago. But a book I just read is a book by Roxana Robinson called Leaving. I don't know if you've encountered that one.
Yes.
Have you read it?
Yes. Love.
Oh, God. Wasn't it amazing?
Amazing.
Have you been able to put your finger on what it is about that book that's so good? Because I keep recommending it to everyone and I'm like, I don't know, you just have to read it. It's so good.
You know what? I think the thing I remember was just how beautiful the writing was.
Yeah.
Sentence level and the scenery and just like the tension. I just felt sucked in, I think is the word.
Me too. Totally. The sentence level rating was so good. And then the story is so amazing. It's also amazing to read about the sort of passion and sexuality of a woman in her 60s. There's nothing hyperbolic about it. It's just so real and gorgeous. That's another book I've been recommending. And then there are books. I have these books I return to over and over when I need to be reminded of like how to write. And Samantha Irby's books, she has a bunch of memoirs and she is like the grand dame of body realness. And I love her for it. She's so funny about some of the greatest indignities of living inside a human body. And I love her for that. So she's someone I just always reread when I'm like, how do you be really funny about something incredibly like gross or disturbing? She is so good.
Yeah, she's very funny. I don't know how she does it. Your book, Sandwich, is set over a summer beach vacation. So I'm really curious about the books on your summer reading list. And also, are you going to the beach?
I am going to the beach. We're going to Cape Cod, the whole group. And so this is a terrible thing that I've learned about myself. I am the weirdest book reader. I have to read. I can only really read like in bed privately. I'm so weird. Really? I don't like to read like on the beach or on a train or on a plane. I can read the New Yorker magazine on the beach. But I can, if I bring a book to the beach, and don't get me wrong, I will bring it every day. I will bring whatever I'm reading. every day, but I won't actually ever. So I have a bunch of books I'm in the middle of and wanting to read. Have you read Martyr? His name is Kaveh Akbar. I just started that, and I'm gonna bring that optimistically to the Cape, and we'll see if I end up getting to read it at night alone in my bed. And then I just finished. Have you read anything by Nina Stibbe?
No.
Do you know her? Stibe. She's a British writer. And is that not how her name's pronounced? I'm probably just
No,
pronouncing
I was drawing a blank. I'm like, who's that? Who's that? Okay. And then I see her book covers. Yes. One Day I Shall Astonish the World.
Yes.
I read that one.
Yeah.
That was really good. Man at
Yeah.
the Helm. That was really good.
Yeah.
She has a new one.
Yes. Her new one is called Went to London, Took the Dog. It's a memoir about her leaving her very long time marriage, only the marriage is barely in the book. The title is a note she leaves her partner. And that's as much as it comes into the book, more or less. Isn't that amazing? How good is that?
No, now that you mentioned it, I can't not look at the title the same now. Went to London, took the dog.
Right. I'm leaving you. It is so intense. And she just moves to London.
That is wild.
I know, it's so good. Wait, what are you going to read? Tell me what to read.
Oh my, okay. What are you in the mood for? You want like one of those family kind of stories?
Yes.
Okay. So right here on my desk, yes, so I can get the name right. So a book I'm absolutely obsessed with is God Bless You, Otis Spunkmeyer by Joseph Earl Thomas.
Okay.
And it's a brilliant book. I just absolutely loved it. It's about a Black Army veteran. He's also a hospital emergency technician. And this is written in the stream of consciousness style. So we're in his head. He's giving us all his personal thoughts on just life, dealing with challenging patients, but also just existing in society itself at the same time. It's just so well done. I'm a sucker for stream of consciousness.
Okay. I'm going to love it. I just wrote it down. Yeah,
it's so good. And another one is The Coast Road by Alan Morin.
I just got that book.
Good. I loved it. It's so good. It's about women in Ireland for listeners, and we see them navigating their complicated dynamics, but also societal standards. And yeah, they're all seeking, how would I describe it? Like freedom and what it means to them individually, but they're all in this town. And the thing is, it's not present day, but it's not that far in the distant past.
Yep.
And it's very much like a reality for women in certain small towns still.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm really excited. And also the cover of it is so gorgeous.
It is a coast road. It is so good. So there you go. You have two, I think, really compelling books. Ooh, but you like family. Let me tell you one about family. Long After We Are Gone. I'm just looking at my desk. Tara Shelton Harris. Now, this is about 4 siblings. And we see them reunite. They come back together because their family home is possibly going to be taken by developers. So they're trying to save their family home from being demolished and all of that. And we see secrets come out, family secrets, but also because they're individuals, we see their individual lives, the struggles that they're facing, and also secrets that they're hiding. So that's really a family story that I think it's something uncomfortable when you think of a family home and having to go back. And it's essentially like going back to your roots. And there's some things you probably hid away from years ago and things you're hiding from present day. And it just all unfolding. Yeah, it's set in the Carolinas, either North or South Carolina.
Okay, I wrote it down.
Yes. So there we go. 3 books for this summer. Awesome. Okay. And what would you say was your favorite childhood book, though? Going back to little Catherine, what did she like to read?
Oh, God, I have so many. If I think about a chapter book like that beginning, I was really a kid who was given the keys to the castle when I learned how to read. Nice. It just was the probably single most important thing that ever happened to me. I read all those I don't know if people still read them, but these books by Joan Aiken that were like Black Hearts at Battersea or Wolves of Willoughby Chase. But before that, like picture books, the William Steig books, I don't know if you've read them, but like Amos and Boris or Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. These are picture books that always have this little hum of an existential thread in them. They're a teeny bit dark, and I loved them as a kid. They feel a little like you're really up against important things, which is so special for kids who don't often get the opportunity to rise to the occasion of an existential or philosophical question. And my own kids loved them too.
Ooh, I love hearing that. We also love bookstores on this show, so share with our listeners some of your favorite local indies.
Oh, okay. I'd have to say, I was just in the UK and I went to this indie bookstore in Sevenoaks, which is about 45 minutes outside of London, run by a woman named Fleur Sinclair. And it was a truly magic space. And I've been thinking about it ever since I left. There was something about being in there that I felt like it was going to suddenly turn into a fantasy story. It was twinkle lit and just the warmest place I've ever been. So that was really special. But my indie that I want to shout out is Odyssey Books in South Hadley, Massachusetts, which is just a haven for readers and similarly a haven for writers. They just love writers, and it's such a pleasure to work with them.
Awesome. We for sure love our indies here on the show. So getting back to Sandwich, I mean, look, I know you've done your job. You've given it to us. We've chatted about it today. So I hope if there's someone listening who didn't have this book on their radar, I hope they'll add it to their reading list. I think it checks a lot of boxes. It's also a quick read. So it's not a chunky book. It's not going to bog you down. And I think after you've finished reading, you're going to want more, because I know for sure that's how I felt. But in an ideal world, what are you hoping readers might think or feel or chat about to their friends who've now read the book? What are you hoping for after they've turned the last page?
I mean, I think there would be many different things that I would be thrilled about. I do think having an opportunity to talk about A, menopause, and B, the reproductive chaos of living inside a woman's body for many decades. I think that would be a great thing to hear that people were talking about. Certainly. And I also could picture people talking about aging parents. I could picture people talking about empty nesting. And I could picture people talking about the thing we talked about before, that life is a complicated mix of things. And we don't need to reduce it.
Yes, we don't need to reduce it to single things, single experiences, fleeting moments. Life is in the and. Catherine, thank you so much for coming on the show and speaking with me. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. I have loved it.
Thank you so much for listening to the Reader's Couch podcast. Please subscribe to the show, share it with a friend, and take a few seconds to leave a rating and review. Until next time, stay lounging, stay reading, and whenever you're in doubt, go straight to your local bookstore or library. Thanks again for listening, and happy reading.